All right. Welcome back, everybody, to Altcoin Daily. My name is Aaron. This is a video that you do not want to miss. There is so much news and information that you need to know about if you're a Bitcoin investor, if you're a cryptocurrency investor. Things are happening in the world that the mainstream media does not report. If they do, they don't give any context, and we will talk about it in this video. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. I want to start off by keeping you in tune with the fact that we are in a bull market now. The last 3 years was a bear market. The next 2 years will be very different than the last 3. And I'd even go as far as to say the next decade will be vastly different from the previous decade. The amount of positive media attention, the amount of educational media content that is out there today, even compared to 2 years ago, is vastly different. This is the CEO of Paxos. Paxos is the cryptocurrency provider for PayPal. He took to CNBC to educate CNBC. This is their conversation boiled down to 30 seconds.
I think having a small allocation of Bitcoin is something almost everybody should have.
There's 47 million millionaires in the world, and there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin. So in other words, if every millionaire on the planet just wanted one, they couldn't get it. There's not enough.
There's maybe 40 or 50 million people that were involved in the Bitcoin ecosystem up till now. And instead, we're going to go to something that looks like billions of people over the next year. That's a huge shift.
Oh, okay, this is going to be the thing to own, and so we all better own it. And from that point of view, the sky's the limit, isn't it?
Bitcoin's endless positive feedback loop is just getting started. Retail isn't in the market yet, but with conversations like this, they for sure will be. Now, I want to finish off today's video by sharing with you what an actual financial advisor, Travis Kling, the Chief Investment Officer, has to say regarding Bitcoin and Ethereum. If you're thinking about investing in Bitcoin or Ethereum, this is a video that you need to see. Before we get to that, let me clue you in on the recent news of the day. Ruffer Investment, or is it Ruffer Investment? Either way, they're a highly respected investment company with one simple aim: consistent positive returns regardless of how the financial market performs. We try not to lose money in any 12-month period and to grow the value of our investors' wealth over the long haul. Now, you might already know that they recently bought over 700 million in Bitcoin. Well, the news is they actually used Coinbase to do this. This is how the big players are investing in cryptocurrency. When Ruffer Investment wanted Bitcoin in November, it turned to One River Digital, who went to Coinbase and hit the buy button on a purchase now worth over $700 million. This revelation sheds light on how large investors are entering the Bitcoin market, namely through trusted partners. Big bets in recent weeks by everybody from MassMutual to Guggenheim are seen as the driving force behind Bitcoin's current price rally. And it's true, now that we have all of these on-ramps, the big players are coming in a big way. And Ruffers bought Bitcoin because they don't want to lose money in a 12-month period, and they want to grow the value of their investors' wealth over the long haul. And it makes sense when you juxtapose where we are today versus 3 years ago. Let me just play you a snippet of this clip that I'm going to show you later before he talks about Bitcoin price predictions, before he talks about Ethereum.
Just to juxtapose where we are today in December 2020 with the backdrop relative to 3 years ago, friendly reminder that the Fed was trying to end the largest monetary experiment in human history 3 years ago by starting to raise interest rates and roll off their balance sheet. All of that has been thrown out the window now. They have no plan to end the largest monetary experiment in human history. And in fact, they're just going to keep going and sort of see what happens. And Bitcoin, as a non-sovereign, hard cap supply, global, immutable, decentralized digital store of value, is an insurance policy against monetary and fiscal policy irresponsibility from central banks and governments globally. And that's the exact thesis that these institutional buyers are getting behind to make their purchases and to get into their positions. Yeah. And it's the same drum that we've all been banging for a few years. A direct quote from Saylor is that he's planning on owning this, quote, for 100 years. So
more about Bitcoin in just a second. But let's get to another financial giant, Morgan Stanley's head of digital asset markets. I wasn't even fully aware that Morgan Stanley had a digital asset arm, but the head of it says that DeFi is poised to keep its momentum in 2021. Morgan Stanley's head of digital asset markets says decentralized finance isn't going away in the coming years. He says, I would say an evolution of this current momentum in terms of significant interest in the topic will continue through 2021. It's almost like he's been subscribed to our channel, because if you look into DeFi, the trend will continue in 2021, in my opinion. Perhaps it'll move so quickly, he quipped, that the space will run out of food-based names next year. Regardless, he said, the evolving technology will likely be applied to more traditional settings in the next 2 years. I think some of the tech from this DeFi phase will certainly be utilized in some more regulated ways through 2021 towards 2022, he said. He touted the programmable features of the tech as a way to rethink digital financial infrastructure, but did not specify which areas he sees DeFi disrupting in the coming years. So, Morgan Stanley now recommending DeFi in a time frame of 1 to 2 years. That's pretty eye-opening. In other news, while many people in America are using Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as investments, in other parts of the world, they're using it because they need to. Nigeria is now the world's second largest Bitcoin market after the US. Let's find out the details. During the police brutality protests in Nigeria in October, Bitcoin saved the day when the government shut down protesters from using local payment platforms for collecting donations to support it. The young, tech-savvy protesters quickly switched to Bitcoin, and in about a week, Bitcoin accounted for around 40% of the nearly $400,000 raised. It was just one high-profile example of how young Nigerians increasingly use Bitcoin to navigate a complicated and restrictive banking and monetary system. In the last 5 years, Nigeria has traded 60,000 Bitcoins valued at more than $500 million, which, apart from the US, is the largest volume worldwide on Paxful, a leading peer-to-peer Bitcoin marketplace. And we can actually check the stats right here. US, number 1. Nigeria, number 2. It's surprising, right? Then China, then Canada, then the UK. And we have some more African countries, the lower half of the top 10. But that is what's going on in the world today. Bitcoin can mean different things to different people. Salvation Army now accepts Bitcoin and Ethereum in donations in the United States. What, is the Salvation Army in on the Ponzi? Bitfinex now offers personal loans in Bitcoin and Ethereum, like we have been talking about. Cryptocurrency companies are offering services that banks usually offer. Banks are offering services that cryptocurrency companies have traditionally offered. So the world is changing. Final piece of news before we get to the video that you need to see. All Bitcoin and Ethereum investors need to see this. Final piece of news, Barcelona soccer star invests in an Ethereum-based NFT game. So we invested in So Rare, a blockchain-based fantasy game that lets users buy, sell, and trade digital football cards. And why wouldn't he want to be a part of something like this? The National Basketball Association is doing the exact same thing. So NFTs will continue to be a big trend and a big thing going into 2021. And without further ado, let's kick it over to Travis Kling, the Chief Investment Officer, talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum. Are they good investments? He's not giving you financial advice, but he does run an asset management company. So this is what they're thinking. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel for more daily videos like this. Travis, take it away.
A direct quote from Saylor is that he's planning on owning this, quote, for 100 years. So
Travis, when you talk about the larger institutional players in this space, I mean, that would seem to suggest that there's not going to be as much volatility around Bitcoin that we have seen in years past. I mean, where do you think it levels off at? Is 20,000 the level that it stays at, or you think there's still significant upside?
Well, look, I run an investment fund for a living, so this is certainly not investment advice, but I would be shocked if it stays, anywhere even close to 20,000, to be honest with you. Stanley Druckenmiller and Paul Tudor Jones, a couple of the most successful macro investors of all time, most well-respected investors of all time. Like, it's not a meme that when they buy, other institutional investors buy. That's not like a turn of phrase. Like that's actually happening. And you're seeing a waterfall of these types of announcements happen. I mean, just last week you had Mass Mutual, a insurance company that's older than the light bulb, buy $100 million worth of Bitcoin and also take a minority stake in a Bitcoin company, NYDIG. And then just today and yesterday, it was announced that Ruffer Asset Management, a 20-something billion dollar hedge fund out of Europe, they bought $740 million worth of Bitcoin. And then there's another announcement, One River today, that has announced that they've purchased up to $600 million and have commitments up to $1 billion to buy through early 2021. So you really are seeing this sort of cascading waterfall of institutional interest. Yeah, that's not going to slow down.
But beyond just Bitcoin, I want to ask you about Ether too, though, because that's a piece of the BITW index fund we were talking about just a second ago, and CME Group saying that they're going to offer Ether futures next year as well. How big is that to maybe drive Ether to catch up to Bitcoin here, and how investors should be looking at that as a different maybe play here in the crypto space?
Yeah, look, it's great. For those of us that have been following all of this real closely, we kind of knew this was in the works from the CME for an extended period of time, and it was kind of a matter of when, not if. But it undoubtedly lends credence to ETH as an asset, its investability. It makes it increasingly more available for more institutional types of capital to get exposure through that, and look, ETH is a very different bet than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a non-sovereign form of money, and ETH is this sort of decentralized world computer. They have different use cases, different value propositions, but it's great to see some real interest outside of Bitcoin. It always helps everybody in my world when we've got more than just a single asset class.